The wind in the valley carried secrets that morning, soft, whispering secrets that could ruin a man if he listened too close. Old Tanner rode out before sunrise, the leather of his saddle creaking under the weight of another sleepless night. He wasn't like the other ranchers in Red Mesa County. He worked alone, spoke little, and trusted no one. The land was his only friend, dry, cracked, but loyal. The kind of loyalty that didn't lie, unlike people, but even the desert couldn't warn him what waited that day. As he reached the north fence, he saw dust rising, not from cattle, but from hooves. A woman rode through it like a storm in human form. Her black shawl fluttered against the wind, eyes fierce yet desperate. When she reached him, she didn't waste words. "They're coming," she whispered. "You have to hide me," he frowned, glancing at the horizon. "Who's coming?" he asked. But she only repeated, "Please, don't let them find me." It was the whisper that would change everything. Something in her voice, half broken but brave, made him nod before his mind could catch up. He took her to the barn, the old one near the dry creek bed, and closed the doors behind them. The scent of hay, sweat, and rain lingered. She stood trembling, dust clinging to her hair, her breathing quick and shallow. "You ain't from around here," Cole said quietly. "Name?" She hesitated. "Evelyn." He could tell it wasn't true. Not the name, not the calm she tried to wear like armor. But he didn't press. The rules of the frontier were simple. A man didn't ask too many questions if he wanted to live long. Still, her eyes told a story, one filled with pain, loss, and something darker. Outside, thunder rolled across the plain, distant yet growing. Cole grabbed his rifle and checked the chamber. "Who's looking for you, Evelyn?" She hesitated again, then whispered something so faint it barely reached him. "My husband." The word hit harder than any bullet. Before he could respond, hooves thundered closer, a group of riders, 5, maybe 6, cutting through the rain. Their leader dismounted, shouting his name through the storm. "Tanner, we know she's in there." Cole didn't move. The woman pressed herself against the wall, trembling, eyes wide with fear. "Please," she begged, "don't let them take me." Cole swallowed hard, feeling that old war inside him, the one between right and survival. The smart move was to hand her over, let the dust settle. But his heart, that old foolish thing, and had other plans. He stepped outside, rifle ready, rain pouring down his face. "Ain't nobody here but me," he said. The man sneered, spitting tobacco into the mud. "We'll see about that." They searched the barn, the stables, even the old well, but found nothing. Cole had hidden her in a hollow under the floorboards, a trick he learned back in the war. When they finally rode off, the valley grew quiet again, but the damage was done. Cole knew whispers traveled faster than bullets in these parts. By sundown, every rancher from here to Deadwood would be talking about the woman he hid. And when they came back, because men like that always came back, they wouldn't be asking next time. He stood by the barn door, drenched in rain, watching her climb out of hiding. "You just made me a liar, Mom," he said softly. She looked up at him with eyes full of sorrow. "Then I'm sorry," she whispered, "because you might die for it." By the next morning, the storm had passed, but something darker hung in the air, the kind of silence that follows a man after he's already made the mistake he can't undo. Cole Tanner stood at the fence line, watching the sunrise turn the desert gold, but his mind wasn't on the land. It was on her, the woman he'd hidden, the whisper he couldn't forget. Inside the barn, Evelyn sat near the open door, sunlight spilling across her face, eyes lost somewhere far away. She looked calm now, too calm, like someone who'd already decided their fate. When he stepped closer, she spoke before he could. "You shouldn't have helped me." He frowned, resting his hat against his chest. "Too late for that." She shook her head slowly. "You don't understand." "He won't stop until he finds me." Cole's jaw tightened. "Then let him come." She looked up at him, a look that said she'd heard that kind of talk before, from men who didn't live long enough to prove it. "He's not just a man," she whispered. "He owns men, buys lawmen, kills anyone who stands in his way." Cole turned away, staring out at the desert again. "Ain't the first devil I've met," but her words stuck. Something about the way she said it, like it wasn't just fear but guilt, gnawed at him. Later that day, he rode into town for supplies. Folks stared more than usual. The store clerk didn't smile. The sheriff didn't nod. By evening, whispers spread faster than wildfire. Cole Tanner's harboring a runaway woman, might be a killer's wife, might be worse. By the time he returned to the ranch, he could feel eyes on him even in the dark. He entered the barn quietly, but she was already awake, sitting by the lantern's glow. "You heard," she said softly. He nodded. "They're saying things." Her eyes lowered. "Some of them might be true." Cole froze, his hand resting on the edge of a wooden beam. "What'd you do, Evelyn?" Her silence was heavy, a silence full of regret. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely more than a breath. "He killed my brother," she said. "And I killed him." The words landed like thunder. Cole stared at her, at the woman he'd risked everything for, and saw her differently now. Not as a helpless fugitive, but as someone who'd already burned bridges and buried her past in blood. "So that man out there," Cole asked slowly, "ain't your husband no more?" She shook her head. "He was a monster. I was his property. Till I made him bleed." She met his gaze, unflinching. "And now his men hunt me to keep his name clean." Cole turned, walked a few paces away, and let out a long breath. "You could have told me. Would you have helped me if I did?" He didn't answer. Outside, the wind began to pick up again, dust swirling around the ranch like ghosts. He finally turned back. "Doesn't matter now," he said. "They'll be back. And when they come, we end it here." She looked at him, really looked. And for a moment, the weight she carried seemed to lift. "Why?" she asked. "Why risk your life for a woman you just met?" Cole gave a faint, bitter smile. "Because I know what it's like to run from your own sins." Night settled once more, and with it came the faint sound of hooves in the distance, slow, measured, certain. The kind of sound a man remembers for the rest of his days. Cole blew out the lantern and stepped into the dark, rifle in hand. "Stay low," he whispered. Evelyn didn't move, only whispered back, "If we don't make it, I want you to know. I never meant for you to lose your peace." He looked back at her silhouette, one last glance before walking out into the desert night. The stars above burned bright. The wind howled low, and Cole Tanner, the man who once kept to himself, now carried another soul's fate on his shoulders. One whisper had changed everything. One mistake had become his destiny.